So I'll be uploading that. And just to remind you what happened in the last session, can any of you just remember, because we took like almost 5 days of break and we are back again. Okay, we looked into GUI, or they call it GUI or GUI application development, right, in tkinter. Okay, and then couple of things we did, right? And then we tried building some applications, some little applications, yes or no? Yes, so some little applications. I think we worked on a couple of things. Okay, so if I happen to show, it's going to be somewhere which I don't know also. All right, so it will be somewhere, and then we saw something like this and we looked into some of the codes. I think it was on day 21, right? On the day 21, this was what exactly we did, right? So we built kind of what do you call it, kind of little applications actually. Okay, not that much, but I thought, okay, fine, yeah, this was what we were trying to do. Do you remember this? Oh my goodness, louder. I think I am audible enough now. So this was where we stopped, right? And then it looks like we don't even know what we are doing actually. Yes, so has any of you been able to factor in what went wrong here? Right, has any of you been able to factor in what went wrong? Okay, so I wouldn't waste much of our time. Okay, let's just start with what we have to do today. All right, so I'm going to show you what we build. Okay, and we try to build it from the ground up. So I will show you first, and then we see if we'll be able to get to that. Okay, so what have we planned today? So we planned working on something. Permit me to scribble some stuff. So now welcome back. So we are on day 23, right, of 50. So I believe by now we are comfortable that we can start doing some applications. All right, so we're going to continue with our GUI application, app development in tkinter. Okay, I might be pronouncing it wrongly because some people said, oh yes, exactly, there was a gap in between. So yes, let's just get back to what we did actually. Okay, and this was the last thing we did. Okay, so what did we do? We tried reviewing the tic-tac-toe example program, right? We ran it from the console. Then after that, we looked at tkinter bases, the concepts of what? Labels, grid, entry boxes and buttons, the lambda trick, the global variable, and then we tried developing this, right, in GUI. So but the aim is, let's just build something that will be meaningful. I mean, why do we just keep doing things that we don't even want to do, right? So because of that, we thought, okay, fine, today we're looking into something more interesting. Yes or no? So this was where we stopped in the last class, okay? And today, what I want us to do is we take help from Google first. So what we are going to build is what we call a BMI calculator, okay? Body mass index calculator. So if you see, you see here, you can see lots of things here using tkinter, using Python, and then you see so many of them how to build a BMI calculator, okay? And using this, something like this, okay? So basically, what is BMI? All right, so in simple terms, it stands for body mass index. So let's get to know what it is and how we actually build this, all right? So if you come here, you see, it says body mass index is a measure of a body fat based on height and weight that applies to adult men and women. So that means it's very difficult for you to measure maybe a teenager's BMI, right? So mostly for adult men and women because, again, your bone mass will count and everything will count. And if you happen to look at this chart, you should be able to see something interesting, all right? So it says, look at the chart. So if you are below 18.5, you are underweight. We'll see the formula now. If you are between 18.5 and 24.9, normal. 25.0 to 29.9, overweight. Now, from 30 point something to 35, class 1 obesity. Now, this class 2 obesity, and above this is like you are obese. Okay, now don't mind how I pronounce it. Obesity. Okay, fine. All right. So how do you calculate it then? So we look at the formula. The formula says it's very simple, right? You just check your weight. Please listen. Your weight, usually in kilogram, upon what? The square of your height. So, say example, let's pull out a calculator now, all right? And then we try to do something here. So let's say I am, okay, so that means I need to, the interface might look like this, right? So we know the formula. What is the BMI formula? It says what? Formula is what? Height, oh, sorry, yes, no, weight first, please. Weight in kilogram upon your height squared. All right, I hope I didn't confuse you now. Yes, weight in kilogram upon your height squared. All right, so what we can do, keep them side by side, and let's get back here. So you can actually see this, okay? So let's say I am 78 kg, okay? I was looking at that image. The image redirected me to a paper. Who wants to read paper now? Leave this. Let's look at the image. This is the image, right? We can see it here. So if I am, my weight is, say my weight is 78, and usually it's not like an integer, right? It has to be maybe a floating point number. So my weight is maybe 78.30, all right? And then my height is maybe 1.73, okay? So what will be my BMI? Can you punch calculator and just tell me what it is? So height squared, you can actually do it what? Height into height, or height raised to power 2, right? So my BMI is what? Can anyone just tell? Okay, fine. So now leave that, all right? So you see, we might try to develop an application that will ask the user, okay? So this is our goal. We ask the user to enter what? Say enter your what? Enter weight. It depends on which one you want to accept first. Enter weight, and then we tell them it has to be in kilogram. And the user enters something. 78 point something. Now we prompt the user to enter height. And the user enters something, which I don't know, right? So what we should do is, we should now call this formula on the background. All right? So what we have to do is, we say, okay, since you have entered your weight and height, so I need to perform the calculation on the background. So what I will do, I will take your height, 8 points. Oh my goodness. Okay, can you hear me now? So better use mic. I mean, is there lots of background noise or something? Can you just hear me? Apart from Anania, can someone please confirm? Because I don't know, maybe there's some mic issue, but I can guarantee that where I'm staying is completely secluded. So, can you hear me, please? Okay. So here, my height is something like this. Then 1.73 into 1.73. Okay. So you can now store this in a variable called height or something like that. All right. So let's run this, and then I'll show you what we're going to build together. Now, if you come here, okay, this is kind of done. Yes, thank you, Ritin. So this is kind of done. So I'll just press F5 here. Okay. Oh, sorry, I opened up the wrong one. So you see this hand sign. So I opened F5. I'll just say F5. Now you can actually see this. Okay. So please focus here. Focus here. Okay. So now it says enter your weight. So I will say 77.3 anything 40. Now it says enter your height. I say okay, I'm 1.74. Okay. Now okay, calculate BMI. Fine. My BMI is 25.56. All right. Okay, so I don't know. Let me just try once again, and then if it didn't work, Anani, I think maybe it might be an issue from your side. Okay, let's just try once more. Okay, check. Headphone. Okay, can you hear me now? Is it better? Please message me on WhatsApp to avoid this time lag, okay? So what we need now is, if you see, there are a couple of things which I did here. So if I click on quit, it's going to destroy this window, okay? So I'll get back here. And I'll call this up again. F5. Now it's there. See, if I just, without entering anything, if I just calculate BMI, it says invalid input, please try again. What is the error message? See here, could not convert string to float. Okay? Now, if we couldn't convert string to float, okay, so I'll get back here. Now I'll try to enter something here. Say I entered 77.20. Now I just maybe I entered 0 here. Okay, I'll click on this. It's going to give 0.00. zero division error, cannot divide by 0. Okay, fine. So then you see error messages is being highlighted in red, and then you could see the font is bolded or something like that. And then maybe if I entered something here, say 1.75, now if I click on calculate BMI, it's in blue. Okay, so let's see how we be able to do this. Fine. So for that, I'm going to leave this completely, and I will introduce you to an IDE which I always use. It's called Pycharm. Now, don't worry about anything now. So I'm going to close this and start it up from scratch only. So close this guy. Fine. And then go back here. So the question is, sir, can we use any IDE for that? So I will tell you why I want us to use Pycharm here. If you see here, it's really difficult, you know, for me to track everything. Like, if I want to say, let me show you an example. Let's say I needed another label. Say I needed a button. I just called it button, something like that, and then say reset or something like that. I want this just to reset. And see, if I start using the object of my Tic-tac class, it's not giving me any suggestion. It's not giving me any suggestion. So you may not understand now. So because of that, I'm not going to use turning again. Okay. We are done with turning. Now let's start with which one? Pycharm. So for most of you that are new to programming, please remember that again, we can kind of use any IDE for this. Okay, any IDE. But why do we want to use Pycharm now? Right? So let me end this here. Get back here. You can first of all download Pycharm. So if you want to follow along, or you want to do this at your leisure, just head to the website, just type Pycharm, okay? Download. Anything you can type, okay? So once you type this now, you're going to see something here. Just go to the website, official website of JetBrains. Once you click on the site, what you're going to see is you have two flavors, right? One is Pycharm for professional developers or for professionals, and then another one is the community edition. So I wouldn't want you to go on this, right? Because, I mean, for now, whatever we're going to do, we have it here on the community edition. So you click on this, download the community edition, okay? So you see it will be downloaded. Since I have it, I'm going to cancel this, okay? Fine. Now, once it's downloaded, follow the on-screen information, install that, and by default, you're going to have a blank screen. So let's start. So I'll just type Pycharm, okay? So if you see there, Pycharm, I just opened this, all right? So for you, there won't be any open projects, okay? Nothing at all, but it's okay. You don't need to worry even if you don't have an open project, okay? So first thing we have to do, we need to start a project, right? So here, all these ones are there. I will just leave them for now. I'll click on File, please listen, New Project, okay? So for you, this is what you have to do. So now, the project you want it to be resident in C, Pycharm projects, or usually you can change this part. Like for me, I don't want it to be here. I always keep my projects on the desktop for me to easily identify that. So let's do that now, and then we open the project from the desktop. All right. So here I will just come here. I will just say new folder. So I'm going to call it what? BMI project. Okay, BMI project. Now this is done. Inside this BMI project, I need to create a Python file, right? So for now, I can open this project, okay? Because I want to open what is on the desktop. So I'm not going to do file create. I will just go to file and say open. Okay, guys? So I need to open a project. So what I will do, I'll go to the location on the desktop, okay? On this desktop is called what? BMI project. You can see it, guys. So I have chosen BMI project. I click on open. Okay. Now it will prompt you. Okay. Usually you have a welcome page. It will prompt you whether you want on this window or you want on new window. So I better show you on a new window. Okay. So this is how it's going to look for in your case. Completely blank. Nothing is here. We have only BMI project. And one thing you need to understand is this. I have various interpreters. Okay. Like my Python IDE. So don't worry, if you have any Python IDE installed, what I meant is this, the Python interpreter, okay, IDLE. This is what I was talking about, okay. So if you have any one installed, it's going to identify it by default. But I have various versions, like I have 3.8, I have 3.9, I even have 3.7, and I have 3.10 also, okay. So you see, it's going to identify one, all right, and this is where we are. So here, if you see here, nothing is there, right? So you can actually create a new file now. Two ways to do that. You can right click and say new, okay? Now you can say here Python file. Don't just click on file, all right? Or you can go from here also, new, then once you say new, you go to Python file. But this might insert an ordinary file. So better to do it from here, right click, say new, say Python file, okay? Now, what is the name of this? Say we call it BMI Calc, okay? So guys, listen, always remember not to separate, like you cannot, though this is valid, but you shouldn't do this, okay? Because if you want to turn this into an installable file, an executable file later, we're going to have issues with this names white space, all right? So for now, this is fine. I'm going to double click on this. So this is where we are, and you can see it here, okay? So since we are here, I believe you're able to see the screen. Otherwise, let me see if I can maximize it for some time. 1 minute. Where are those things actually? I can't find it. It's called. I really need to maximize this. I think editor tools. No. Configure editor tab. Am I sure? I needed to increase the font size. Fonts. Okay. Yeah, the size is 13. Okay. So I need to maybe like make it 20. Let's see. Oh yes. Okay. Font is 20, apply, okay. Yes, this is fine. Okay, guys. So you can kind of add a documentation now. Remember how we add documentation, like multi-line comments, right? Invalid interpreter selected for this project. Can you see there? It says invalid interpreter, so we might have issues running this. So configure this. So you see here, okay? So I actually have 3.6 and 3.6. Again, where I installed some certain things here. So maybe I'll choose one of them. So this is done, okay? Processing is done. So feel free to just add some documentation about what it is now, because we have learned so much that we can start building kind of nice projects, right? So you call it a simple, what do you call it, BMI generator, something like that. BMI generator using Tic-tac-toe. Now, if you notice something here, I'm using this, sometimes I use capital T, at times I use small t, okay? So in earlier versions of Python, it is capital T, like, though these are all comments for now, all right? But don't worry, so in Python 3.0 and above, 3 points version and above is like TK, okay? Small TK. So now this is fine. You can actually call a version, right? Say version, because this will be an incremental project, okay? So we work on it, again, we get back to it, and then we keep modifying it until we get the final product, which will turn into an executable file. All right, so you can say version 01, anything is fine. It all depends on how you want to keep the version, so you can say 01. Now you might give a name, right? Say maybe like by students only, okay? By students, okay? Anything, fine. So one of the things you might actually do, you can add dates to this actually, okay? So what is today's date? Today is Thursday, right? So we know it is 9th of what? December 2021. You feel happy maybe when you get back to this, maybe 6 months down the line, right? So this is done. Now, this is non-executable, everybody knows that. So what are the steps now? So let me use comments in between. So the first, as you can see, immediately I start typing, right, I'm getting this intelligence, right, built into it. So hash, so I will say step 1. What are we going to do actually? So we need to create what? We need to create the root node, okay? So we need to kind of set the background ready for our project to run, okay? So that means we need to first of all import all what? Necessary libraries. So I need only one, right? Only one thing I need, necessary library. So how do you import actually? So first step is what? Import what? Tic-tac as what? Whatever. So you say import. So you see there, import. This is going to help us code faster, right? So tkin. So you can see there, right? So since I'm using version 3, I can see Tic-tac is in small letter, right? So as now, please listen. We can use this actually, import Tic-tac, but I want to use alias. Like if you start working on data science projects, you say import pandas as what? PD, import numpy as NP. So it doesn't matter, okay? So I'm going to use this, I'm going to import it as alias. So instead of me to use Tic-tac in all the places, I will just use what? TK, okay? So this is done. Okay, so after I've imported this now, what I need to do, I need to create my root window. Still in the step 1, right? So it's better called root because I'll say ROT, okay? Now you can use any name for it actually, so it doesn't matter. But since we are used to this, that we have to import the root node, right? So root node, we need to create the root node, I beg your pardon, okay? Or we call it the root window, which serves as an entry point. So let me do something here. Since I imported tkinter, I'm not permitted to do again like this, tkinter like this, tkin. I'm not permitted to use this tkinter dot what? Tk. I cannot use this again, okay? I cannot use this. Rather, what I should use is to use the alias. Okay, I will say small tk, okay, dot. Now this creates the entry point into the program. So why don't you add comments now, right? So that you will not forget what you are doing, right? So you say creates and what? Entry point, right? Entry, okay, entry point into the window, something like that, into the window or something like that, or to the window, it doesn't matter. Fine. Now after this is done, guys, do you remember what we have to do? We need to now, please listen, we need to now use the main loop, right? Because we said every main loop, every tkinter program follows this kind of stuff, right? So main loop, obviously, we have to use what? The root node, right? Whatever we've created as the entry point, right? So we say root dot what? Main loop. Now, why do we need main loop? Now, you see here, main loop actually takes what? Arguments, okay? It can actually take another argument, okay? And then, but we don't need this actually. So why do we need main loop? Now, I will run this without main loop, and then I will explain this with using main loop, okay? So for now, let's run this. Will this execute? Who knows? So you can do two things here, right click, okay? You see run BMI stuff, or you press Control Shift F10, all right? So I'm going to press this now. So you see here, my terminal says it ran. Execution is done. But I did not see anything, right? You see here, I didn't see anything and there was no error at all. That's why, see, root node main loop says, I want you to see the window open. I don't want the window to close. You got the point? So we can say keeps the window open. Window open. So it's like call this continuously, right? Until I forcefully close it. Okay? So this is just going to call it continuously. It's like a while loop. Okay, that's why it's called main loop actually. Okay, it will keep running until I forcefully close it. Now let's do this now. Control Shift what? F10. Now you see we just created something here. Can you see it, guys? So this is the window, which was not there before. All right. So we can see this window. Okay. Now what we need to do is we can resize this window, no problem. But this window lacks a title. So by default, it's going to take this tk. So we can see this tk, right? So it's going to take it as a title, but that's not what we wanted. We wanted this title to be meaningful. So what we do, we go and set the title, right? So we can call it anything, and then we see it will happen here. So after we have imported this and we created this root entry point, so we now use that. Okay, we say root dot what? It's called title on ti, and you can see all the other methods that are in it, right? So by default it calls tk, so you can see transient, you can see tk raise, you can see everything. So title, what do we want to call this? Now by default it's going to return a string, right? So see here, it's a string. Now we say okay, fine, we call it simple BMI calculator, anything, simple BMI calculator. All right, so this is done. Now what we do is Control Shift F10, and then it says okay, stop and rerun, no problem. And now you see it's actually there. You see it's actually there. See the title, simple BMI calculator. Okay, so this is done. And one thing you might want to know is this, guys. If you see here, let me close this and run it again. Control Shift F10. So you see, I mean, the window is hiding this title, right? So you might use this geometry method kind of to position it actually, to make it a little bigger. But for now, let's just let's do that, and then if need be, we can remove it also. So I will just come here. I will say root dot geometry. So you see now geometry. Let's see what it takes actually. So now I need to set the dimension, right? So new geometry. Okay. So okay. Anyway, I need to set the dimension, right? So the dimension I can maybe say 500 cross maybe like 400, anything. Okay. Now I'm going to run this again. Now, did you notice something, guys? Like, it has given me a kind of a broader window, right, to work on. So I can see the calculator is visible. Yes or no? Okay, fine. Okay, so till here, we have done something. So what is it that we're going to do next? Please remember, first step is over, right? Now, we need to start populating something here. Yes or no, guys? So this is completely empty now. Let's go and add something inside this empty window. So we're going to add widgets. Okay, W-I-D-G-E-T-S. I don't know how you pronounce it. Widgets or widgets? Who knows? Okay. So step 1 Hogia, I will now say step 2. Now please listen. If you remember the concept of your HTML, what we normally do is we create the entry point, that is HTML only, HTML tag, and then we have to close the tag, right, after everything, like HTML, yes or no? Fine? Something like this. Then inside here we have our head. Inside the head we have our title. Then we can actually put some blah 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 and close the title, and then we close the head. Okay? Then we start the body. Okay? And after some stuff, then we close the body. And finally, the HTML is closed. So why did I just show you this analogy? We want to see the M is, this main loop actually is like our root node, right? This is the beginning, this is the beginning, this is the ending of it, right? So this should be down. Think of it like the body of your stuff, okay? Or your HTML tag. Now, let's move to the step 2 now. So we say step 2. Now let's create, let's do what now? Create all the necessary GUIs. Necessary GUI, they call it GUI, okay, fine. GUIs. Okay, in Africa we call it GUI. Okay, not Africa, don't generalize, okay? Some people call it GUI. Alright, so that means there will be sub steps. So now we need to create all the necessary GUIs, right, guys? So let me create kind of a label now for something. Go back here. Did you remember we wanted to prototype something like this, right, guys? So let's run this once again to understand this better. Press F5 here. So if you see here, please listen, guys. So if you see here, this title is taken care of, right? Title is taken care of. Minimize, maximize, or restore. Maximize, and then close. Is taken care of. Now we need this, right? This is a label. It says enter your height. See, I'm talking about this, guys. I hope you're able to see where I'm pointing. Okay? It says enter your height in kg. Okay? So this is a label, right? Now after that, now we needed something here inside this place where we're going to kind of what do you call it? Take a value, right? Yes. So that will be like kind of an entry into that. So you can think of it as a text box. Okay. So where you have a label and then you have a text box. So how many labels are here? Can you see? Like we have this label, enter your height in this. We have this label, enter your weight. Okay. We have this label, your BMI, 3. Now we have 3 buttons actually. We have calculate BMI button, we have reset button, we have quit button. Yes. So, and then we have the border. So we succeeded in creating just the border. Yes or no? So let me run this again. So this is what we've done so far. F10. So this is what we've done so far. Okay. So let's now populate all these things now. Let it appear here. Fine. So the step 2, we need to create this label. So what is the first label? Say maybe we want the user to enter the height or something like that. So we say, okay, fine, create label. So I call this now maybe step 2.1. So I'll say, okay, fine, create label for something. Okay, create the weight label. Now, so if we're going to create this now, we're going to call it what now? It's going to be called what? Something we don't know, right? So we say, okay, fine. TK is the object, right, which we created. Dot what? Label, capital L. Okay. Now, this label has to go inside where what we are? Inside the root. Yes or no? Fine. So root, and we need a text, right? So we say text, T-E-X-T. So text, okay? So you can see there, text wrap, text whatever. So the text is going to tell me to say, it's going to say something. Say enter your what? Your weight, something like that, in kg. Because some people, they use LBS also. Okay, I don't know what that stands for. I think it's the British equivalent. So in kilogram. So what we needed you to enter is only in kg. But we need to store this somewhere, right? So that we can reference it. So that's why we say, okay, fine. We call it what? Weight label. You can use this one, label underscore weight. Fine. So this holds this, fine. And then what we have to do, we can actually try this out and see if this label is there, and then we copy paste. So Ctrl Shift F10. Now if you see, it's not there actually. Can you see? Okay, let me keep this side by side. Okay, So let's keep this side by side. So you can see here, right? It's not there, but I think it should be there. So why? We need the geometry now, right? To kind of populate something here. So what we do, we're going to use what we call what? The pack geometry, okay? So we need to say pack, fine? And we want it to pack one side, okay? In Nigeria, we say pack one side. That means like you should just relax. So which one do you want to be displayed here? We say is label what? And label underscore what? Weight, right? That's the only object we have created now. Dot pack, fine? Now, let's run this actually. So I'm going to press the same thing, okay? And then reload this. So you see it has appeared. Can you see there? Enter your weight in kg. So this is there, okay? Fine. So this has appeared. Let's go and do something else. So I will close this. Show one screen at a time. So what I can do, I have created this label for this, so I can kind of copy paste this now, right? So Control C, then go down, Control V. Okay. Which one do we need to create now? We need to create label for height. So create the height label. HEIGHT. So this is now called label height. Fine. Now, and I'm going to, this is again label height, and I'm going to ask you to do what now? Enter your height in meters. Height in meters. METRES. Fine. Okay, so if we run this now, we will see both of them are there. Now we see here. Fine. So for now, I think this geometry is not making sense again, right? You can see because it's looking so small here and big border is there, right? So what I will do, I will go and destroy the geometry then. I'll destroy this geometry, right? So instead of destroy, what I mean is to comment it out, okay? So I'm going to comment this guy out. Fine. All right. So I'm run this again. Okay, so let it be like this. Okay, so let it be like this. So this is what I wanted. Let it just be small so that if you want anything, we can actually maximize and see what is happening. Okay, fine. Now what we need is now what? Label for what? Which one is that actually? We have created the width and the height. Then we need to kind of create maybe another label that will print what the BMI is, right? So we now call it maybe something. Okay, we paste here. 2.2 is done. Now we now create the label for the results, right? So Control V. So we say 2.3. We say now create the result label. Okay, create the result label, the BMI whatever, or the result label. So this label is going to say something. So we call it label results. RESULT. And then we want to say your BMI. Do you remember, guys? We want to say your BMI is. So it's a text, right? So you say your BMI is something like that. Your BMI is, or your BMI score, something like that. Score is something. So we print something, okay? So again, we call it label results. Fine. Then once you say label, then you're going to see all the objects that you've created. So label results is there, and then we use that. Fine. Back. So let's run this and see. So far, this is what we have, right? Fine. Now, after this, now let's go and start creating the entry. Yes or no, guys? So we create the entry for all these levels, right? So now it's there. So let's now go and kind of using input tag, right? So we need to accept something now from the user. Fine. Okay. So let's get back here now, and then, okay, maybe before that, can we kind of do one thing? Create that button. Okay, for now it's also fine, but I think it will make sense if we create the button. Yes or no, guys? Because we saw this button. We saw this button here, F5. So we saw this button, right? So we can create this button for now. And for now, leave all these two guys. I mean, reset and quit button. So let's create this button, and then the button has to be closer to some BMI thing. So we now go here and we say, okay, fine, let's create step 3. We can now call it step 3. Okay. Step 3 says now what? Create the what? GUI button. Okay, so the BMI button actually. BMI button. So that means when I click on this button, something should happen, right, guys? So now I will use the object which I created before, tk dots. Now I'm going to say button is what I want to create. Fine. Now this button will take some arguments, right? So first thing, where do you want this button to go? right? So the button again is inside the root, fine. Now, and we want the text something to appear, right? You can see they say calculate BMI, right? So we're going to use text again. We say text equal, we say calculate BMI. Okay. Now, one thing that is very important is this button will sit there without doing anything. Let's test this out and see what happens. So if you see here, your BMI score, something like that. Oh, sorry, we need to set the button, right? Obviously. So this is done, so we need to set it. Okay, so we say, listen now. We need to save this in a variable. So we call it maybe like button calculator, something like that, button underscore calc. Okay. Now, what I will do, I will use this now. I will say button, something like that. Okay. Dot what? Pack, P-A-C-K. Done. Now, what I will do, I'm going to run this now. So you see, I will now see this, yes. But once I click on this, nothing happens. Okay. So nothing is going to happen for now. Okay. So we will address this soon. Let's go back and now populate this stuff with our what? Our text boxes. Similar to our text boxes. Okay. So what we do, we get back to where we are. Okay. And then we said now we need to create what that we were calling text boxes, like kind of an entry widget. Okay. So step 2 is done. Please listen. Everything we are going to build it together. So here I will call it step 4 now. Okay. So step 4. Step 4 says, and we're going to have step 4.1, 0.2, point whatever. So step 4 says create the entry widgets. So just call it now similar to what? Call it what? Similar to what? Text boxes. Text boxes. In whatever. Boxes in HTML. Okay. Alright. Or you call it input boxes in HTML. So we're going to create it for each of them, right? So this is done. So what we do, we now say, okay, fine. It's called entry, right? It's an entry widget. So we say tk.entry. Is capital E, guys, E-N-T-R-Y, and as you can see it there. So now this again is going to take some arguments. Okay. So for now, please listen. For now, if I do this, okay, I need to save it in what? Where is this entry widget going to go? Actually, yes. So this entry widget is going to go to the root. Yes or no? Fine. Root. And here I need to reference this entry widget. So I can call it what it is. I will say, okay, fine. Equal what? entry underscore this guy. Okay. So for now, nothing will happen. Actually, let's see. So, yes, nothing happens, right? Because we just created the parent widget. So we need to now say, okay, fine, entry, the parent entry. So we need to say, okay, fine, assign it to enter your weight, assign it to enter your height, and then your maybe like a BMI score, okay, something like that. So this is fine. Till here is okay. So we now need to now start assigning them, right? Fine. So in this case now, you notice one thing here, guys, that if you understand the behavior of the grid, so let's look at grid geometry. So let's look at grid geometry because we need to change this now. So let's say we have used Pack, right? Pack versus grid in tkinter. Please look here, guys. So look here. Grid is considered what? Easier to use. If you need to lay things out in a grid now, okay, fine. But Pack is generally easier to use if you need to do, if all you need to do is to put some widgets in a single row or a single column. Please listen, guys. Look here now. We are facing a problem here because though we created that entry widget, okay, we are not able to place it in a position where we need it because we use the Pack method. Please look here. So Pack is generally easier to use if all you need to do is to put some widgets in a single row or a single column. But grid is considered whatever easier because if you need to lay out things in a grid, okay, so what are they telling you actually? So this will allow you, it's kind of a two-dimensional table. If you look here, guys, you've seen we ran into a problem here. Let's run this and maybe you understand better. So what is the problem? The problem is we have these weights, okay, we have height, we have something, and by the side, we have other things to appear. So we know Pack will not work again now. We now need to use what? Grid. Okay? So because grid will allow us to think of this as dimension, okay? Okay, so let's go back here now and understand this. For that, I'm going to use, let's draw a table here. So understanding grid methods. Understanding. You remember somewhere it mentioned something about 2 by 2 matrix or something like that, multidimensional matrix. Okay, understanding grid. Okay, in tinter or tkinter, whatever. Let's look at this way. Now, this is what we have so far, right? So we wrote some stuff here, enter. Okay, let me use height and whatever for now, height and weight. And we wanted some things to appear by the side. Some things we wanted it to appear here. We want another thing to appear there. And we want, when we call this calculate something, we want to say calculate. Okay, it should print something here again by the side. I hope you got the point now. Hence, pack is no longer feasible. Okay, we have to upgrade to now grid. Fine. So how do we use grid now? So that means we need to go and change whatever we've done with pack and then switch to what? Grid. Okay. So I hope you're able to follow, guys. So far we have used pack. Remember, we removed this geometry, no need. Now this pack, I'm not going to delete it. I need to know how I was building this, right? So this I needed now, okay. Now I want to go and now change this to, what do you call it now? The grid method, okay. So this is for my label weight, label underscore weight. So I will say dot grid, okay. Now this is now another confusion will come here, okay. If you just say grid, it's not going to appear actually. Go back to the grid, you see something here. This grid, let's divide this grid into two-dimensional array, okay? Such that if you look at this, how many rows can you see? So you have row 1, row 2, row 3, okay? Okay, let's start with row 0, no problem. Row 1 and row 2. How many columns can you see, guys? So this is column 0, this is column 1. Agreed? Fine. So that means that if I want to put this now, please look here. This should be placed under which what coordinates? Think of them as coordinates, right? So enter height, I'm going to call it HT. What will be the coordinate? Coordinate of height is what? R0, C0. Agreed? Row 0, column 0. Now let's go to this entry widget, right? Whatever box. So I'll call it ENTW. Okay. What is the coordinate? R0, C1. Agreed? Fine. So this is done. Next one, if we come here now, so for the weight, WT, what are the coordinates? R1, C what? 0, right? So what are the coordinates of this one? So I will say R1, C1. So this, subsequently, this becomes what? R2, C0, and then this is R2, C1. Agreed? So we have to use this now to place our stuff. So we minimize this and get back there. So what we know now is, okay, since this is making sense now, I need to put what now? They are actually called rows and columns actually. So they are called rows and columns. So you can start with row. So you see there, row on what? 0. Now, column is called what? Now, LUMN actually is what? 0, the first case. Okay? That is where enter your weight should be. Fine? Fine. Okay, so this is done. Now, the entry widget we created actually, right? So now, what we have to do, we say, okay, fine. Here, we now say, okay, for the weight, we need to say, okay, this is label weight, fine. And it's actually not called label weight again, actually, sorry. It's called now what? My entry widget, fine. Okay, so here, that means I need the entry weight. So entry widget is there. So if I use label, it will not work actually. So I need to create the entry widget. Okay. So here I'm going to copy this which I have created. Okay, guys, copy this. Go back here. So for now, permit me to clear this now so that anyway you will see it in the recording session. Okay. So we won't get confused. So this now I'm going to call it what now? Entry weight. Okay. So entry widget. This is fine, but I want this to be assigned to what? My weight. Agreed. Fine. So I will go back and say it is for the weight. Fine. Now this goes into the root. No worries. Yes. Fine. And with this now, I needed it to position it where it's supposed to be. Label is what was there that asked me to enter my weight in kg. Now I created this entry, right, which goes into the root, no doubt. Now I'm going to use this now, right? So it's called entry weight, and then I'm going to position it. Agreed? Fine. So I call it entry weight. Fine. Okay. So this is done. Now we might kind of see it now, okay, and see what happens here. Okay. So we try to run this and see what happens. Okay, it says which is inside. Oh yes, exactly. Okay, so look here, guys. The other place I'm using pack, right? So here, if you read this error message properly, this will not work unless I change everything to what? Grid. So move this up. Can you see here? So you can actually see this, right? This pack. So it says cannot use geometry manager pack inside, right? Which already has slaves managed by grid. Okay. So yeah, this is fine. So in this case, I need to change all of them. Okay. So till here, don't get confused. Till here is done. Fine. Now I'm going to remove this step now. Okay. Fine. I'm going to remove this step because that was just there as a placeholder. Okay. So for now, this is over also. So let's go back and change all of them. Okay. So this is for label what? Height. So that means I need what? Entry height. Okay. And then in this entry height, I feel free to delete this completely. Okay. So here, what I will do now, I will say, okay, label height. Okay. Label height, yeah, dots, underscore, okay, dots, okay, grid. So here, I really need to position this where I want it to be, actually. So where do I want this guy to be? I really want it to be somewhere. Where exactly? So this is going to be under what? Row what? Row 1, column 0. Agreed? So it's just under that, right? So I'm going to say, okay, fine, it's going to be row under the first one. Row 1, and I'll say row 1, okay? And then column 0. Okay? So this is fine. And then the last one is, what exactly? The last one is for my, which one? Height. Okay. So this entry, yes, this is done for weight, so I need to do for height as well. Otherwise, error will come there. So this is done, and then this is there. Fine. So entry height. So this again, we go for height. Sorry. And then I have to use entry here. Fine. Fine. Okay. So delete this. This is fine. And then that's it. So what is left now? I think the last one, right? For my button, right? So the button I needed the button to go somewhere, right? So the last was for my button, right? So okay, label result also I need actually. I have to place the label result. So the result I need to place it. Remember where it was actually? So this result was under column 1, row 2, right? So it's okay, just follow along for now. I will just say label result dot what? Dot grid is under what? Column 1. Okay, that is row 2 and then column 1. Fine. All right. So yes, don't forget our main loop is there. And then if you see my button, where is that button? The button is here, right? So we will do something now. When we call this, we cannot use spark again on the button because we are going to get an error now. So this has to be changed to what? Grid. Fine. So we change this to grid. And on that grid, we really need to place it accordingly also. It was under row 2, column, something like that, column 0. Okay, and that was 0. Fine. Okay, so let's see if we missed out anything here. All right. So after we created all the necessary GUIs, so this is done, no problem. And then this geometry we don't need actually. So to make it not look confusing for most of us, we don't need this. Fine. And then we create all this. We created this label, and then this was what we've seen so far. And then we create the entry widget. Okay, so first we kind of place this guy there. We placed our label, fine. Okay, and then this was under row 0, column 0, and then this was under row 1, column 1. That is for the height level, right? And then for which one again? Then the last one was there. Okay, let's see what happens. So now you see, okay guys, this is what we wanted, but see there is an issue here now. Okay, like I think I superimposed it on this. Now see, the text has disappeared, right? So it's looking different here. And then this is actually what I wanted, and this is actually what I saw, right? So you see there is an issue with this placing thing, and then okay, your BMI score is there. So what I will do now, I will just look at this positioning. Okay, I think I missed out something here. Go back here and then just go back and see what happened in my positioning. Okay, so here this was fine. Okay, this was where we are, somewhere here. So this is what don't worry, don't look at the formatting for now. So this is done, this is done, okay, this is done, this is done, this is done, until here, okay, with the button. So what I'm going to do, and the result actually, okay, so till here, I will just replace whatever you've seen now, okay, just to fix this earlier, and then we continue, okay. So copy this now, and then we get back here, okay, so we get back here, I'm going to populate from here, okay, so I'll populate it till here, fine. Now, please listen. From now, what I want you to look at is, don't look at this formatting for now. So I will take this out. So this was all we did. Fine. This is there, and this was the text. And this is being replaced with what? Grids. So this is out. Fine. We got this. Now, this was my entry widget, no doubt. This is out. Fine. And then this was it also for the pack, all commented out. Fine. And then this also. Fine. Now, take out the formatting for now. We will do that later. Okay. Now, okay. Then enter your height, no problem, and do this, no doubt. Do this also, fine. Now, I will explain the core span later. Okay. So I will explain this core span and stuff like that. And then don't talk about the font for now. This is also fine. Till here is fine, right? So now let's run this now and see what happens. Fine. So this. Now, if you see, it says, okay, BMI Calculator is not defined. Yes, so for now, I don't want to work on this. So I'm going to remove this for now. Okay. And then let's just show the output. So this is what I wanted, right? So this is it, and this is what we've seen. Okay. So far, so good. Yes. So I will wind up very soon, guys. Let me just define this function. Let me just define this calculate function. So if you see here, if I click on calculate BMI, nothing happens, right? So if I call this function now, nothing happens. Okay. So what I want to do is I need to trigger an action whenever I click on this. Okay. So what is going to be that action? It's going to do what now? Call a function which is going to calculate the BMI. So for now, guys, please just wait for some time, guys. I don't know. Okay. Anyway, just wait for some time. Let's just define this function. So here I need to trigger an action on this. Okay. On this button, and this is going to say, okay, fine. It's called command. So I will just Ctrl Z. So command says BMI calculate. Fine. So this is a function. Now, if you run this now, you see that this function is not created. I mean, it will tell you it's not defined. So that means I have not actually created this function. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I will now go back and create this function. Yes or no? So, and the best way to do this is I cannot create this function inside here. Now, let me show you something here. Let's say it says it's not created, right? So I just say, okay, fine, I need to create the function here. Please listen. How do you create a function in Python? You say def, right? So not def and dump. Def what now? It's called BMI calculate, right? BMI underscore calculate. So what we can do for now is we don't know how we calculate this, right? So for now, let's just use this keyword pass to avoid getting an error message. Yes. So now let's run this now. Ctrl Shift F10. So you see, okay. Now there is nothing inside there, but when I click on this, okay, fine. Now please notice here, okay, we need something to be printed here. All right. So now let's go and define this function. Okay. For me to define this function, I can try to see whether the function is working or not. So let's do something. It's always good you test your program as you go along. So take some random weights. Call it weight. I will take somebody who is maybe like 56.3 kg, 9 kg, okay, 90 kg. And then I take the person's height. Actually, I wanted to say WT. I said TW. So WT is someone's weight. I'm going to take someone's height, HT, and this person is maybe like 1.72 meters. Okay. Now, how do you calculate the BMI, right? So I'll say BMI equals what? Now we can do this, yes or no, guys? So I'll say WT divided by what? Now, height, right? So we can do two things here. We say height into height. That is height squared. Agreed? Fine. Now, what I will do, in this only, I'm going to print the height. For now, the BMI. I'll say print what? BMI. BMI. Okay. Now, please listen, guys. Let's run this and see what happens. Okay. Ctrl-Shift F10. Now, as soon as I run this now, you notice something here. Please listen, guys. So, I'm not taking anything from the user, yes? So, I'll just click on calculate BMI. Once I calculate, did you see the height is, the BMI is here. But this is not what actually it should be. Please listen, guys. What is 59 point something? So, you have to use, did you notice something here? Somebody is 56.90 and the BMI is 56.89. What is really happening? So you see that this actually did not use this because of what? PEMDAS. Parenthesis, explanation, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. So since nothing was there, we expected it to do multiplication, right or wrong, guys? But it's saying I am doing division actually before multiplication. So what will happen now? Just listen, guys. I'm just going to wrap this around what? Parenthesis. Now what I will do, I will just run this again. Okay. Now I'm going to just click on calculate BMI. Now you see now 19 point something. Yes. So this is really working actually. This is really working. But it's still printing in the console. It's not printing to where I wanted it to print. Fine. So one of the things you can do now is you look at this possibly. You needed to round this, right? You needed to round this up to maybe like 2 dB. So you can do something here where you are printing this, right? So you can say, okay, fine, round. Okay. Then BMI, something like that. 2 what? 2 decimal places. Yes. Fine. So all these things you're going to see the usefulness in a while. Okay. So now once I call on this, now you see 19 point. Oh my God. It's giving me something else. You got the point now. So actually what I should have done is inside here actually. Okay. Then you wanted to round it to 2 dB. Okay. So Ctrl-Shift F10. Now when I run this, call on this. Now you see I'm getting it, right? Now 19.01. But you notice another problem with this round. There will be a problem here. Let me go back and just say this is 1.7 and let's say this is 56. And we wanted it to 2 dB. So if I run this now, I will see calculate. Now, okay, I'm getting 0.38. No, let me just say this person is just 1 meter tall. 1 meter tall. Obviously, it's going to give me something else, right? So it's going to give me only 56. So you see here, it's giving me 56.0. It's no longer giving me 56.00. So this is one of the problems with round function. Okay. So though you said round it to 2 decimal places, you might think it's working actually, but it's not actually doing the job. Okay, so what we'll do is, I will stop exactly in another 4 minutes and we'll continue this tomorrow. So I'm going to use another one which we call format. Okay, it's kind of, you can ask Google now, what's the difference between round and the format method. So I will just say round versus format. Okay, so format, F-O-R-M-A-T in Python. So you see, most times when you place here, rounding decimals with the new Python format function. Okay, so this is what you see in most cases, right? Stack Overflow is asked there. So how do I round the decimal of a particular number using this Python tree, whatever? So in 3.0 it was introduced. So this is what we wanted actually. Okay, so this is fine, and then we are going to turn this into something now using the same arguments here. Okay, then instead of this, I will comment this out so that we know what we did previously. Okay, and then I'll come back here. What I will do, I will say, okay, fine, reassign this BMI, okay, BMI, to be the formatted BMI, right? So it goes like this, you have your same curly braces. Inside that you say colon, right? Then dot, 2F, 2 floats, okay? Now, what is it? After this is done, you now say dot format outside, okay? So you see there, format. Now, it's going to take an argument. What is the argument? It's going to take what? BMI as an argument now. So, BMI. Now, what I will do now is I have to now print this BMI. Okay? Print, I'll say BMI, done. Okay, so now let's run this now and see what happens, whether it has fixed this problem. Okay, now you see when I call this now, what did I get? 56.00. You got the point. So this has actually solved the problem. Okay, so now why am I telling you all this? We're going to use these skills to modify our program. So this is fine, 56.00. Okay guys, so with this now, we didn't need to get this into our what? Our widgets, right? So what I will do, I will comment this out. I will just define this function, guys, and we stop here for now. Okay, so what I will do, I'll comment this out so that you know what we did, right? So fine. Now come back here now. I really need to get this into my what? Widget. Now look here. I want entry height, yes guys, and I want entry width. Weight, sorry, not width. Entry weight and entry height, yes guys. So whatever is inside those, right, whatever we enter there, we have to use it now. The BMI calculate method should perform operation based on whatever is inside the what? Entry, right, which is like inside the text box. That's what we are trying to say. So what we do, we now say, okay fine, let's say entry underscore height, fine. We'll do one thing, use the get method. Okay, so we are going to get whatever is inside that text box, similar, and we assign it to what now? Height. No worries. So height, HEIGHT. This is a new variable. So if that is the case, actually I want to accept it in the order in which I'm asking the user to enter. So this is what? Entry underscore weight first, right? So dot get, fine, get method. Okay, now this is fine. Now I can now use this now. Okay, I'll say, okay, my BMI is going to be something, right? BMI is going to be what now? So I need these two variables. Otherwise, I have to say entry dot whatever this dot get and then upon this. So I will now use weight upon height, right? So I'll say weight. Okay. Now divided by, we can use this now. Okay. So we can now say height. Okay. So this height we can say HEIGHT. And I'm going to show you another thing. Instead of saying height into height, you can say height raised to power 2. Agreed? Fine. So, and we have seen why we have to kind of enclose it in these braces, right? So this is done. So what I will do now, I need to do what now? I need to print it, yes or no? Fine. So I need to print it where? Who knows? Okay, let's run this and see what happens. Okay. So you see, let me enter values now. Okay, let me enter the same thing. I say 56, and then I'll say 1. Okay. Now calculate BMI. Now you see, please look here guys, it says unsupported operand for this on that, and we expected this. Why did we expect this, guys? Why did you expect this? We know for sure, look here, that whatever we are entering has to be what? Typecasted. Agreed? It has to be typecasted. Though we are not printing anything yet, but it's giving us an error. So we need to typecast this now, and we say, okay, fine. We wanted float to be there, fine. And then we close this for now. Then again, this also has to be float, obviously. Okay, and then we close it, right? So we typecasted whatever from string now to float. Okay. All right. So so for the weight, I don't think I needed to typecast the weight for now. Okay. So now let me run this and see whether this is solved. Okay, now you see here, let me enter again 56, and then I'll enter 1 here. I'll also, okay, calculate this. Okay, fine. Obviously, I'm not printing anything, right? So let me just print something here. I'll just say print for now. And with all these things we've seen, right? So I'm going to take this out. I'm going to take these two now. Okay, so Control C, come back here, and Control V it. Okay, so BMI, after we calculated the weight, we formatted it, and we printed BMI. Okay, fine. So run this. Now I'll enter 56. I'll enter 1. I'll calculate. Now did you see it's printed still here, right? No problem, but it's printing here. So I will just print this to the place where we wanted it to be, right? So, and if you go up, it's called label something. It was called. It's called a not entry for this. Here, look here. Label result. Please listen, guys. It's called label result. Okay. So to avoid confusion, usually functions are defined before all this stuff, right? So I'm going to take this out and I will stop here. Okay, so I'm going to take this out, cut this, okay, and then keep it above, right? So keep it above, okay, fine. And then we needed this to be printed to do what? Using the label result, which is this, right? So come back here. This is what we needed, right? So this object is what we needed. Fine. Which says your BMI is fine. So I will just take this now, and then I will come here and we'll stop here. All right. So for now, I can call it something like this. I will take this out. Formatted, no worries. Then I will say label underscore result equals something I don't know. What is it? Now, for now, it's going to take text as an input parameter, okay? Because we want to print something saying, okay, this is your BMI is something like that. So this is fine. And now I'm going to use the F string. Okay, please listen. We use this float format. Format is also different from F string. Now I will show you something here. The F string is like this, okay? Then it says your, like actually in double quote actually. So it says your something like this. BMI is, okay? Now something here I'm gonna print. I will say okay, BMI, fine. Now BMI. Now if you look here, we used this format, and now we are using this F string actually. So this F string will allow you to print it irrespective of the type. Say example, whether it is string you can print, whether it is float you can print, whether it is integer you can print, okay? So irrespective of the type. Now this is fine. I will just run this now and let's see whether this works. Okay. Okay, so let's enter something now. We say 56. Maybe we say 1.2. Now we calculate this. So you see it's printing here, and we stop here for now. Okay. So it's printing here now. So it's no longer printing in the console. Okay. So please look here, guys. It's printing here, right? All right. So your BMI. So you can think now, okay, that we are done. We are done with the BMI calculator, but that's not what it actually. Let's look at the end product. So this is the end product. So I will run this end product again. Press F5. Now what I wanted you to do is, you see something like this. Let's say 80. Sorry, somebody is maybe 74.36 or something like that, and the height is 1.72 meters. Okay. So if I click calculate BMI, so your BMI is something like this. Okay. So let me just clear this. I just put 0. If I say here, it says oops, division by 0 error. Okay. Now let's say I did not enter anything at all. It says invalid input, please enter. So we are just like halfway done. Okay, we'll continue this tomorrow, and again we have to handle all this with different color also and make this text look bolder, right? So for now, if you compare them side by side, you see, okay, fine, that we are getting there. So for now, we can say we have successfully ended. We have successfully created our BMI calculator, but let's try to get to this place tomorrow. Okay. So on this note, I want to thank you guys for tuning in today, and just in case I overshot the time, I'm really sorry. Okay, and I believe this was insightful. All right. So thank you guys, and then till I come your way tomorrow, happy studying, and feel free to tell your friends about this. Let them just join, and let's do this together. All right. The only way we learn is by practicing. And if you have not subscribed and you're still watching, I don't know. Okay. All right. Take care, guys, and bye for now. See you tomorrow then. Bye.